Good morning. If you are with us Sunday morning on Facebook, and if you are watching a recording of the service at any time of day, greetings. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalists of Transylvania County. I'm Kim Moya. I'm a member of the UUTC board, and today I'm the service coordinator. First of all, I have some announcements. A commercial. We have a calendar, very nice calendar still available. For only $15, you can get this beauty calendar about Transylvania County pictures taken by UUTC members. They're very good photographers. And January is a great month to get your new calendar if you didn't have one yet. Also, from the newsletter, if you go to a newsletter, you can get more detail on this news, but I will introduce you very briefly the news. One is, if you don't know that yet, every Sunday at 11 a.m. is a virtual coffee, and virtual coffee hour, and everybody can attend that and online for sure. Also, Reverend Bob had a new telephone number. It's a local number, and on the webpage, and the newsletter gives you more detail about the number. Finally, Reverend Bob and RK attended a meeting organized by Brevard Town. The meeting was about Mary Jenkins Community Center and other revitalization projects in Brevard, and the newsletter gives more information about this meeting. Thank you for joining us in this sacred place during these troubled times. From the safety of your homes, in a community consecrated by our presence and our commitment. We are welcoming an inclusive congregation. We invite your participation and welcome you, whoever you are, without regard to your race, color, age, sex, gender, orientation, politics, or abilities. We require no creed or particular religious beliefs, asking only that you bring your goodwill and an open heart. Our mission is to support individual spiritual journeys and to promote social, economic, and environmental justice. To any guests or newcomers we have watching with us today, thank you for taking a chance and taking the time to find us online and join us here today for worship. And to our members and our friends, please use the chat to commune with each other, to reconnect as a UUTC family, and to express your appreciation. Our call to worship, Alleluia, is provided by Janice and Elaine, along with Carlin and the piano. Please relax and let the music lead you into the spiritual worship.
Alleluia.
Our opening words are by D. Scott Cooper, Associate Minister at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Houston, Texas. We come together in order to imagine not one path, but many paths. We imagine a path forward for those who cannot imagine any path forward because of poor health, financial hardship, family crisis, and other roadblocks we cannot begin to understand or imagine. We struggle to imagine a path forward for those who are forced to leave a homeland against their will, and for those unable to leave a war-torn homeland despite their lives being in danger. We imagine a path forward for those who leave their homes to make a better life for their families elsewhere. May we be welcoming presence along the path toward hope. We come together. We do not seem to know our country. We come together to imagine a path forward for those of us despairing because we do not seem to know our country nor our neighbors, despite the fact that we have not moved at all. May we be the good we are hoping to find as we travel side by side down the path to our hope. We imagine a path forward for those who feel lonely. May we take one another's hand and we walk the path to our community. Truly, we know as we imagine these ways forward and take one another's hand, the path will lead to hope. The road will lead to beloved community, and the arc will bend toward justice because we have dared to travel with love in our hearts. We now move more deeply into our worship by lighting our chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Our words are from Reverend Dr. Rebecca Savage. After the events of September 11, 2001, Reverend Savage felt drawn to military chaplainship. In 2003, Reverend Savage was ordained as a Unitarian Universalist minister and commissioned as an armed chaplain. Outside her current ministry at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Rockville, Maryland, Reverend Savage served as the co-chair of the Unitarian Universalist Association's Ministerial Fellowship Committee, which reviews applicants for the ministry and ethics violations. We light our flaming chalice as a beloved people united in love and thirsting for restoration, justice. May it melt away the tethers that uphold witness in our midst. May it spark in us a spirit of humility. May it ignite in us radical love that transforms our energy into purposeful action. This a chalice of audacious hope. This chalice shines a light on our shared past, signaling our intention to listen deeply, reflect wisely, and move boldly toward our highest ideals. Please join us for the first hymn of the morning, number 396. I know these roads will open, and the words will be on your screen.
open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know this fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will open. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open.
Now is a time in our service for those whose hearts are full of sorrow, of concern, or of joy. We believe joys are magnified and worried and grief is by sharing them in loving community. For those of you watching our service online, I invite you to share your joys, concerns, and personal passages by using the chat function. I will not be able to see and read the chat, but I will include a candle to represent those things shared by folks at home. I light a candle of gratitude for the many whose commitment we see and value. The sanitation workers, the nurses and doctors, the teachers and the postal workers. And for those whose quiet dedication to their unseen jobs make our life easier. This light is for the tiring work of essential workers. I like the next candle of encouragement during distress. We must work to avoid the polarization that surrounds us, feeds us, and sometimes drain our souls of hope. May we find the courage and strength to hold our convictions, yet still to recognize the inherent worth and dignity of others. I light a candle of support for those who have fled nature's wrath here and in the world, and with love for our connections. May we continue to be there for each other and reach out to connect and help each other. We need each other to survive. Once again, I light a candle of support for those who speak up and speak out, bravely standing on the side of justice, imagining a better world for all. We are grateful for them. I light a candle for those prayers lifted up in the chat box by those at home. A light is burning here, even as we cannot be with each other. I light one final candle for all the joys and sorrows that are not yet ready to share. May this flame spark in each of us a connection and commitment to each other to listen deeply and leave spaces, an invitation to reveal the things on our hearts. Let us hold them in our hearts as we listen to music Calm Healing, provided again by Janice and Elaine and Carlin.
Oh, gather up the brokenness and bring it to me now. The fragrance of those promises you never dared to vow. The splinters that you carry, the cross you left behind, come healing of the body, come healing of the mind, and let the heavens hear it, the penitential hymn, come healing of the spirit, come healing of the limb. Behold the gates of mercy in arbitrary space, and none of us deserving the cruelty or the grace. O solitude of longing, where love has been confined, come healing of the body, come healing of the mind. Who see the darkness yielding that tore the light apart, come healing of the reason, come healing of the heart. O troubled dust concealing an undivided love, the heart beneath is teaching to the broken heart above. Let the heavens falter, and let the earth proclaim, come healing of the altar, come healing of the name. O Lord,
I invite you to join with me in a moment of meditation and prayer. Spirit of love and life, we gathered here in this moment of time on this historic weekend, in this historic month of this historic change in our society. Open up our hearts with hope to imagine what will come. Spirit of love and life, as much as there are things that we would wish to leave behind with the old year, and as much as we feel that the old is still dragging on us in these days, may we be inspired. May we dream. May we find ourselves at the cusp of celebration of the first step in the new days of change and all that might be accomplished with the newness that comes from change. Our prayers go out to all who are having difficulty adapting to change. Our prayers go out to those who may be feeling still battered and wounded. O Spirit of love and life, we are not here to put each other down. We are not here to drag. We are here to be lifted. May we unfurl our wings. May we find our ways above the treetops to look down on the beauty of all that is and be reinvigorated once again. Blessed be. Amen. A reading that I have for us this morning is from the words of Robert Bly. Those of you like me who remember back into the 1980s, the men's movement, the mythopoetic movements, you'll remember Robert Bly as one of those who imagined new ways to get out of toxic masculinity, for example, new ways in which to open up to ideas. In that spirit, I have chosen this short excerpt. Think in ways you've never thought before. If the phone rings, think of it as carrying a message larger than anything you've ever heard. When someone knocks at the door, think about them that they're about to give you something large, to tell you you're forgiven, or that it's not necessary to work all the time, or that it's been decided that if you lie down, no one will die. My sermon this morning is entitled, I Know Our Souls Will Unfurl Their Wings, from the hymn of the same phrase, I know this rose will open. And here, at this wintry moment, in all the chaos of what humanity can bring us, of all the distraction, of the pain and misdirection of, dare I say it, those of us who have already forgotten our New Year's resolutions and are off track. At this moment, may I turn us back to the idea of dreaming, the idea of the centrality of imagination right at the moments we need it, of the very essence of what it is to help encourage us to go forth from this week in January into a bold new 2021. I say this with some humility on this weekend in which there are celebrations for Martin Luther King Jr., somewhat overshadowed by COVID and the inability for large groups to gather around his monument in Washington, D.C. But in the memories of August of 1963, where he said, "I have a dream," in the ways in which those of us who are privileged, those of us who may think of ourselves as human beings improved by those who were available 55, 60 years ago, those of us who do not have the humility necessary need to listen to James Baldwin, where he says, "Nobody's more dangerous than he who imagines himself pure in heart." I retranslate, nobody's more dangerous than they who imagine themselves pure in heart. So I come to this moment. I know this rose will open. I know our fears will burn away. And yet watching the news, it seems the fears, the same old fears, have been coming again and again. I know our souls will unfurl their wings. And if we start from imagining ourselves, from the reading before this Sunday of Bozos on the Bus, if we imagine ourselves with humility, if we imagine ourselves in the context of the diversity of what we have in this nation, if we remind ourselves of the children's story that Kevin shared with us for this Sunday, if we remind ourselves to think of the messages that might come to us and imagine them as bigger, larger than we ever could have imagined, then we are able to enter into this sermon. Yes, indeed. Think in ways you've never thought before. You know, I've reflected a bit of what's been going on and the intense violence that our souls have felt. Sometimes it's easier for us to be able to manage our to-do lists, manage our weight loss program, manage our grasp of reality if we have others around us and we check in with one another and have our chats. Imagine, because it's not going to happen during COVID, but imagine someone is coming to your door, someone from your past, from your current times, from those who are also separated in their homes. Imagine them coming to you and whispering to you a forgiveness or a secret that helps you leave behind something and go forward. I love to repeat the story, the old wisdom of the Buddhist monks who are on their travels and they come to the side of a river and are about to cross and notice that there is a woman there who looks like she needs some help to cross. And the elder of the monks offers, and she accepts, for him to lift and carry across that river and set down on the other side. And then, miles later, finally, the younger of the monks speaks up and says, "We're not supposed to touch a woman, and yet you picked one up and carried her." And the elder says, I left her at the shore. You have continued carrying this for the last several miles. When will you put it down? Imagine us being able to put down our hurts. Imagine us being able to put down whatever it is that holds us back in our own imagination from being fully ourselves. And I believe that a part of it is that we are a people of imagination. Singularly, yes, but singularly we can get ourselves trapped in our own realities, our own worries and cares, our own pain, our own past successes that now may be in the way of embracing the future possibilities. I believe we unfurl our wings when we feel that newness granted to us by our friends, and yes, maybe even those we've considered enemies, those so totally different from us who somehow break through to allow us to imagine something new. I think it's really hard for us, for our imaginations. I think as myself as a liberal in embracing charity for all, a liberal in wanting to be generous and open and accepting and giving. I think it's really hard during times when we're wondering about violence. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "The ultimate weakness of violence is that it is a descending spiral, begetting the very thing it seeks to destroy. Instead of diminishing evil, it multiplies it. Through violence you may murder a liar, but you cannot murder the lie, nor establish truth. Though through violence you might murder a hater, you do not murder hate. In fact, violence merely increases hate. Returning violence for violence multiplies violence." Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." And then he puts next something that sometimes is hard for me to imagine, but I need to hear it again. The question is not whether we will be extremists, but what kind of extremist we will be. Will we be extremists for hate or for love? Will we be extremists for the preservation of injustice or for the extension of justice? Let's use our imagination, folks, to get away from the spiral that violence that we've seen or experienced may have put us in. Not because it's not valid, our experience, not because we should cut ourselves off from the realities we see around us, no, but because we need to turn back, as Martin Luther King Jr. was saying, to love and a vision of something. That helps us unfurl our wings. In fact, most folks going back and looking closely at his speech from August of 1963, which we remember as the "I Have a Dream" speech, it wasn't going that direction. It was not going that direction until Mahalia Jackson, gospel singer, in a broad voice from 50 feet back, says out loud, "Tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream." We can boringly speak out, or we can tell people about the dream. Indeed, we forget our resolutions unless they are powered by that kind of vision and energy. When Martin Luther King was saying about the little brown children and the little white children growing up in a new way and being able to be together as equals. He might have been imagining the stage of life in which I, as a minister, was marrying an African American woman, a white male, or any other mix of ethnicities. That I might have been serving in the South, open to seeing such couples holding hands walking down the streets. That we may have seen people rise to places of authority, no matter what their race, their gender identity even. We are in one of those moments in which a dream helps carry us into a future that we now enjoy. All of the ways in which we have unfurled our wings, allowed creativity to be, that has been our touch of our relationship with God. What do I mean by that? I think I've said this already once before, and it's worth repeating. There's a whole theology about the idea of God as creator, and that creation itself adds to the divine when each of us comes up with something new, some new way of doing things. And yes, I suppose that could mean a new way of invoking Jim Crow, but I think instead it's some way in which we do, as Martin Luther King says, combat hate with love. Let light come into the darkness. Isn't this what we were born for? I don't mind at all if you're going to get back on that treadmill. I'll work on my belly too. But what is the vision? What is the vision of how maybe you will knock at someone's door to forgive them in a big way? What is the way in which you will listen to someone trying desperately to say their place is unbearable, and you grant them one of the largest gifts of listening and loving and reflecting back where they are? What if you, unbound by rules like the Buddhist monk, help someone cross the river and then help teach someone younger that is not so much the rules, but the love and compassion that gives us purpose in moving on? Yes, please, folks. Yes, please. In seeing what might happen as more are vaccinated, imagine the future. In seeing how we, now all scrambled up races, ages, people of all kinds, might help one another forward. Imagine our souls unfurling their wings and smile. May you leave behind the burdens on the shore. May you go forward in your progress towards a new dream on the horizon. May we all help each other do it together. And folks, I love you. And I encourage you to let go and fly. Thank you. At this time in the service, I turn now to our point of generosity. I hold up this basket, which miraculously is not empty. Someone has snuck in and put 10, 5, 1s into this basket. How could that be? We're not here to pass this basket. And yet, we are remembered. In all that we give our time, talent, and treasure, with the love that we have, this congregation and our wider community responds with joy, and we say thank you. Thank you for all that you bring, for all that you have sacrificed, for all that you will do in this 2021, that not only we but others may feel their souls unfurl their wings. Please check the chat box now or at the end of the service for any link that might help remind you where you can give online to this congregation, that it continues to be a light to all of us and indeed to this community. I invite you to now join in singing with us in the hymn, "We'll Build a Land." The words will be on your screen.
We'll build a land where we bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves all mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them garlands instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land, building up ancient cities, raising up devastations from old, restoring ruins of generations. So we'll build a land of people so good. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever
Though I extinguish this flame, let us remember to carry the light with us and all that it stands for. And as I extinguish this helper candle, let us remember of all the helpers of humankind, of all the races and times. May we continue to join their ranks. And as blessing to you, I hope you do not have a day off tomorrow. I genuinely believe that in whatever way, whether it's clicking on a button or otherwise becoming engaged in the realities of the world around us, that on Martin Luther King Day, it should be a day on. May you have a day on, a week on, in which you are adding your part to the wider picture of the adaptation to the change that we wish to bring with the vision, the dream, the love. Blessings on each of you as you walk your path. And may you find your way back here to this place of love, acceptance, and celebration. Blessed be. Amen.